The Joseon dynasty was founded in 1392 and lasted for over 500 years on the Korean peninsula until it ended in 1910 and became a colony of Japan. During its 518 years of history, there were 27 kings from Taejong to Sunjong. Before learning about the history of Joseon, it's important to understand 조선왕조실록, the annals of the Joseon dynasty. Since the name is quite long, I will simply refer to it as Sillok hereafter for convenience. Sillok is a comprehensive record of various aspects of Joseon, including politics, economy, society, culture, religion, weather, and even the daily life in the royal court. It was written in real time by the historians who had to maintain strict neutrality. If anyone leaked information from Sillok or altered its contents, they could face severe punishment, including execution. Even kings were not allowed to read Sillok to ensure its impartiality. Because of these strict rules, Sillok is highly reliable even to this day. Sillok consists of around 2,000 volumes, and such an extensive record of a single dynasty like this is unique to Joseon. Today, Sillok is designated as a national treasure of South Korea and is also listed as a UNESCO World Heritage. There are many more interesting facts about Sillok, but we will stop here and learn more about it another time. Now, let's learn about the founding of Joseon and what happened up to the reign of King Sejong, the fourth king of Joseon. Before Joseon, there was a country called Goryeo on the Korean peninsula. The transition from Goryeo to the new country Joseon involved many interesting events, and at the center of these events was Taejong, the founder and the first king of Joseon. Taejong is not his real name, but a temple name given to kings after their death. So the tradition of giving temple names started in the Goryeo period, and these names were assigned based on the king's achievements. Among the kings of Joseon, only two did not receive temple names, Yeonsanggun and Gwanghaegun, because these two kings were dethroned during their reigns. Now let's talk about King Taejong. His real name was Ishikari. He was originally from Goryeo and gained great fame for his military achievements, particularly for defeating Japanese pirates during the Goryeo period. Because of this achievement, he and his superior, General Taejong, became very popular among the people and was highly trusted by the king. Then one day, an unfortunate incident happened. A delegate from the Ming dynasty of China visited Goryeo and was killed. To understand this event, we need to look at the context of that time. When Goryeo was under Mongol rule, China was also under Mongol control. However, as the Mongol power weakened, China defeated the Mongols and established the Ming dynasty. In Goryeo, the Mongol influence also weakened. However, there were still many Goryeo people from pro-Mongol factions, especially the powerful nobility called Gwonmunse족, who had greatly benefited economically during Mongol rule. Naturally, they were not happy with the decline of Mongol power, and likewise with the new Ming dynasty of China. So when the Ming delegate came to Goryeo, one of these Gwonmunse족 nobles killed him. The Ming dynasty was furious and demanded that Goryeo surrender its northern territories as compensation for the killing. And upon hearing this, General Taejong, Ishikari's superior, thought that this demand was outrageous and began preparing to attack the Liaodong Peninsula of Ming China. However, King Wu of Goryeo, who deeply trusted and followed General Taejong, asked him not to go to war and to stay by his side. General Taejong agreed to the king's request and instead ordered his subordinate, Ishikari, to lead the army and attack the Liaodong Peninsula. However, Ishikari had a different opinion. He believed that the chances of winning against a big country like Ming were very low, especially since it was the rainy season, which was not very favorable for war. Despite his continuous efforts to persuade his superior, Taejong remained firm. So Lee Seong-ge reluctantly led his army to attack Ming. They reached the Yalu River and needed to cross it to enter China. But just then, a heavy rainstorm began. Some soldiers even died while trying to cross the river. Seeing this, Lee Seong-ge decided that the war was impossible to win and made plans to turn his army back, return to Goryeo, and stage a coup. He thought that he's gonna die anyway, so he might as well take a risky chance, and most of the soldiers agreed with Lee Seong-ge's decision. If you think about it, the coup was overwhelmingly in Lee Seong-ge's favor because Taejong had entrusted the entire army to Lee Seong-ge, so his forces were significantly larger than Taejong's army. So Lee Seong-ge's coup succeeded, and he eliminated his former trusted superior, General Taejong, and dethroned King Woo. He didn't establish Joseon and become king immediately after the coup. After King Woo was dethroned, his son, King Chung, became the king, but he was merely a puppet, with Lee Seong-ge holding the real power. Over the next 4 years, many events took place around the question of whether to keep the country of Goryeo or to establish a new nation. Eventually, in 1392, the new nation of Joseon was founded, with Lee Seong-ge taking the throne as the first king. At this point, you might be curious about what happened to the northern lands that the Ming dynasty had demanded to Goryeo. Shortly after the coup, Ming withdrew their demands. Perhaps Ming heard about the coup and decided that they should treat Goryeo more cautiously, leading them to cancel their demands. Whatever the reason, the land remained part of Korea. The kings immediately following Taejo were Jeongjong and Taejong, and both were sons of Lee Seong-ge. Normally, the next king is the previous king's son. So why did Taejong, Jeongjong's brother, become king instead of Jeongjong's son? There is a very interesting historical story behind this, and the main character of this story is Taejong. Let's first take a look at Lee Seong-ge's family relationship. Lee Seong-ge had a total of 8 sons. He had 6 with his first wife, and after the first wife passed away, he had 2 more sons with his second wife. Among these 8 sons, Bangwon was the 5th son, and he later becomes King Taejong, the 3rd king of Joseon. Bangwon was actually known to be the smartest, strongest, and the most ambitious of all the sons, and these qualities likely helped him become king later on. Bangwon actually played a significant role in helping his father, Lee Seong-ge, establish the Joseon dynasty and become king. He also contributed a lot to the success of Lee Seong-ge's coup during the Goryeo period. And because of this, Bangwon expected his father to name him as the crown prince. However, Lee Seong-ge's second wife wanted her own youngest son to be the crown prince. And since Lee Seong-ge loved and favored his second wife, he eventually decided to appoint the youngest son, Bang-seok, as crown prince. And when Bangwon heard about this, he was very angry and felt betrayed. He then planned to kill his 2 half-brothers and actually carried out a rebellion known as Wangja의 which means strife of princes. And through this rebellion, he actually kills his 2 half-brothers. And this event completely ruined the relationship between Lee Seong-ge and his son Bangwon. And Lee Seong-ge is known to have resented his son for the rest of his life. After the rebellion, Taejo felt so heartbroken, and he soon abdicated the throne and passed it to his second son, Bangwa, who becomes the king Jeongjong, the second king of Joseon. Normally, the throne would go to the eldest son, but the eldest son had already passed away due to illness. So the next eldest son, Eunbong, became king. You might wonder, then did Taejong also try to kill Taejong as well? No, he didn't, because Taejong was older than Taejong. And in Joseon society, respecting one's elders was very important. Taejong showed respect to his older brother Taejong, at least on the outside. And more importantly, Bangwon, Taejong, worried that if he became king right after killing his two half-brothers, then the people would criticize him for becoming king in such a way. So he actually expected his older brother, to become king first, hoping that he would eventually become king in due time. And Taejong, despite being older, he was somewhat afraid of his younger brother due to his past actions of killing his two half-brothers and was very cautious around him. And so after just 2 years on the throne, Taejong voluntarily abdicated and passed the throne to his younger brother, Bangwon, who then became King Taejong. Before becoming king, Taejong showed a lot of violent tendencies, killing many people who stood in the way of his power. However, once he became king, he is evaluated as a ruler who left many good achievements. And Taejong is also the father of the famous king Sejong. So if you have any interest in Korea, you have probably heard of King Sejong. He is most known as an inventor of Hangul, the Korean alphabet, and he is also the face on the 10,000 won bill in Korea. King Sejong is considered the greatest king among all the Joseon kings, and many believe that King Sejong could fully showcase his virtues and abilities as a king because his father, Taejong, had firmly strengthened the royal authority before him. And Taejong was also known to be a good father. He had a bad relationship with his own brothers due to power struggles, but he did not want to pass that on to his children. So he emphasized brotherly love to his sons. And as a result, Taejong's 4 sons were very close to each other and on good terms. Sejong was actually Taejong's 3rd son. And at first, Taejong's eldest son was originally the crown prince. However, the eldest son showed a lot of problematic behaviors to be a good crown prince, and he especially loved to drink and hang out with women. And the second son was deeply into Buddhism and didn't really seem to care for anything else. So after much deliberation, the officials decided that the most intelligent 3rd son was the most suitable for the position of crown prince. And the 2 older brothers acknowledged that their younger brother was the best fit to become king and held no grudges whatsoever. This support and love from his family helped Sejong become the greatest king in Joseon history. And through Sejong, we can see how important the family's role is in raising such an excellent person. Now, let's learn more about Sejong. While Sejong is best known for inventing Hangul, that was actually one of his accomplishments in the last years of his reign. Before that, he achieved so many unprecedented accomplishments in various fields. Among all kings of Joseon, only 2 are honored with the title Daewang by later generations, which means Great King. And those kings were Sejong and Wangjo. This title is given to kings considered greater than other kings. Then, what defines greatness? It is none other than their love for the people. Looking at Sejong's various political systems, it is clear that his intentions were solely for the well-being of his people. Unlike his father Taejong, who focused on strengthening the royal authority, Sejong valued communication with his officials and implemented systems that balanced the power between the king and his officials. He was also the first king to conduct public opinion surveys. So despite having the authority to enforce his decisions, he made efforts to listen to the people's opinions. One of the best examples of this is his attitude towards 노비, the slaves. In the strictly hierarchical society of Joseon, the nobis were not treated as proper human beings. However, Sejong felt compassion for them and saw them as individuals. At that time, slaves were given only 7 days of maternity leave, but Taejong understood the hardships of childbirth and extended it to 130 days. He also gave paternity leave to the husbands of the slaves. This shows that Taejong saw all humans beyond their social status, overflowing with love for humanity, and he practiced this in his actions and governing of the country. It's hard to list all of Sejong's achievements in one video, so for now, let's learn about some of his achievements in the field of science. During Sejong's era, there was a prominent inventor named 장영실. He was originally a government slave, but Sejong recognized his exceptional talent and granted him a government position. A slave being granted a government post was unprecedented at the time. Sejong supported 장영실 in inventing numerous scientific devices, resulting in significant advancements in science during his reign. The story of King Sejong and 장영실 was also made into a Netflix movie called Forbidden Dreams. It's a movie, not a documentary, so not all scenes in the movie are factual, and there are some fictional elements added to where historical records are missing. But it's still a quite touching and entertaining film with a real historical background. So if you're the type of person that enjoys historical films, I definitely recommend checking it out. Some of the most notable inventions include the sundial and water clock, which introduced the concept of clock to the Joseon people for the first time, and rain gauge, which greatly helped to prepare for disasters and plan farming activities according to the weather. Sejong was also very keen on astronomy and instructed 장영실 and other scientists to create various astronomical instruments. Sejong also compiled the 칠정산, which is a set of astronomical tables which standardized the calendar and time based on the latitude and longitude of the Korean region. Before this, Korea used the Chinese standard calendar and time, which made it difficult to measure dates and time accurately because the two countries have different locations. Sejong's interest in science significantly improved the lives of the people by making these advancements. By today's standards, Sejong would be considered a genius. It's amazing how he felt such deep love for his people, while at the same time having exceptional talent in nearly every field. In fact, the records from the Sillok of Sejong's era reflect this. He was enlightened in human relations and considerate of all things. The southern and northern regions obeyed, bringing peace to the nation, and the people enjoyed living for over 30 years. His great virtue was so high that people at the time called him the Yao and Shun of the East. By the way, Yao and Shun are legendary sage kings from ancient China. If Sejong had one flaw, it was that his officials found it hard to keep up with him. The king loved reading and working so much that he naturally assigned a lot of work to his officials. So while the officials might have struggled, it was a prosperous time for the people. In his later years, Sejong entrusted all administrative duties to his son, Munjong, and focused on creating Hangul, the Korean alphabet. At that time, Joseon used Chinese characters. However, Chinese characters did not match the Korean language and pronunciation system, making them very difficult for ordinary people to learn. And as a result, only the ruling class was educated and used the characters, while most common people were illiterate. This led to many injustices and unfair situations for the people. Since they couldn't read, they often didn't know certain actions were crimes. And when they were arrested, they couldn't plead their cases because they didn't know how to read or write. Seeing this, Sejong felt compassion for his people and recognized the need for a writing system that matched the Korean language. In his later years, he secretly began the creation of Hangul. The decisive evidence that the Hangul was created in secret is that there are no records of it in the Sillok until its official proclamation. This suggests that even the officials were unaware, supporting the idea that Sejong conducted the project in secret. In 1446, October 9th, the 훈민정음 was proclaimed. Hangul's initial name was 훈민정음, which means the correct sounds for instructing people. But it wasn't welcomed immediately after its creation. There was strong opposition from the ruling class because they feared that if common people could read, it would limit their own power. Also, since Joseon maintained close relations with the Ming dynasty of China, many believed that creating a unique Korean script violated established norms. Despite initial resistance from the ruling class, 훈민정음 gradually spread and began to be widely used after Sejong had passed away. 훈민정음 is now called Hangul, which means script for the Korean people, and is the official script of the Korean language. To celebrate October 9th, the day when Hangul was proclaimed, it is now designated as Hangul Day, an official public holiday in Korea. As a Korean, I feel very proud that such a king existed in our history. And how wonderful would it have been if all kings of Joseon were like Sejong. As you learn from history, however, there were more kings who were not like Sejong, some even very far from it, and one of them even turned out to be a tyrant. In the next video, we will learn about other kings of Joseon and what happened during their reigns. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye!